Welcome back to another episode of the FitBod Blueprint. Coach Phil and Coach Tyler here from FitBod Institute. Tyler, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great. We are 6 days away from Christmas as we're recording this, and call me Eminem because I've been rapping.
Yeah, lots of presents, eh?
Yeah. You know what it is? It's Jesse is still super into like the little Monster Jam monster trucks, and they're like $3 a piece. So it's just kind of like, man, you get the parent dilemma of, you want to spend the same amount on both kids, but then whenever the stuff he's asking for is like, $3.99 a piece versus the stuff Ellie's asking for is like, $20, $30, $40, $50. It's like, oh man, what do I do here? What do I do here? So I think I figured it out.
You just got to throw them in a big box.
So I think what I figured out is I'm gonna take the difference because I try to get them the same total number of gifts. That way, it's not a competition come Christmas morning. Where one kid's like, haha, I got more than the other. Because they don't really at 4 and 6, they don't really understand, like, that's how much this costs, that's how much that costs yet. Or at least Jesse certainly doesn't. So what I'm going to do is whatever the difference is for what I've spent on Ellie versus what I spend on Jesse, I'm just going to put that difference into his 529 account for college / now that'll roll into a Roth IRA. So hey, you can thank Dad one day for this.
Yeah, he may not understand that now, but one day he's really going to thank you for that. I know Quinn's birthday is on Saturday, the 21st. And so then obviously then it's Christmas. So there's a lot of presents around this time of the year for her. So she loves it. It's like the 21st, the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, because then you go into all the family stuff. So it's like a week of presents for her. She really enjoys this time of the year.
That's awesome, man. I had a friend growing up that his birthday was the 26th. And he would get so mad because so many people would just get him a Christmas present and they'd write, Merry Christmas / Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
Like,
we haven't quite reached that yet, just because, she's only turning 4. So, like, she still kind of gets it all right now. And, of course, she's really, like, the only grandkid pretty much out of every family. So she gets spoiled rotten. But I'm sure we'll reach that point eventually.
Gotcha. Well, today's topic is why dieting 7 days in a row is killing your progress. So, we think about starting a fat loss phase, and oftentimes people are just like, okay, I kind of have one last hurrah meal, or I had a client put it perfectly. I'm gonna steal what my client Ryan said. He calls it his last cigarette. He's like, oh, I have my last cigarette.
The last one, bro. Yeah.
So, people think about dieting and it's just, the mindset is usually how little food can I eat and see results as fast as possible. And usually people do pretty good with it for the first 5 days, 7 days. People might make it as far as 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, right? But then by week 3, I'm going to put out a little challenge here. Tyler, I want you to, under no circumstance, think about a giraffe for the next 10 seconds. And what are you thinking about right now?
An elephant. I'm thinking about a giraffe.
Right. Like we grew up, we're millennials. We grew up Toys R Us kids. You're thinking about Jeffrey the giraffe from Toys R Us, right?
Love that
story. That's exactly what ends up happening whenever you are in this diet mode is whenever you go so low with your calories and you go so hard and you never have any kind of a reprieve from it, food starts to develop more and more power, and it starts to really mess with your mindset. It starts to mess with your relationship with food. Like, Tyler, if you found a starving man, would you hesitate if you had a Pizza Hut pizza, would you hesitate to give that to a starving man?
No, probably not.
What? It's food, it's calories, it's going to save his life.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because no food is inherently evil. Like, you can put that slice of pizza under the most powerful microscope we have, and at no point will you see a little atom running around with devil horns and a pitchfork going, I exist to make people like,
Yeah.
that's not what happens. No food is evil unless you happen to be allergic to it, like peanuts or something. But the idea of I'm going to be 100% perfect now starts to creep in as well. Whenever you're focused so hard on, I want to go, with these calories, and I want to just run it 7 straight days a week and no break, no nothing. So this can lead to dieting burnout. I know I've experienced it. Tyler, you've experienced it. Like, I can't think of a client I've ever worked with where if I would have them do 7, 14, 21 days straight of super low calories, that there wouldn't be a point of, hey, coach, I did this, I did that. And then they start feeling guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people can tend to underestimate the mental side of things when you are tracking that closely, right? Like, that is mentally fatiguing over time. Like, it just is. Like, I mean, I've been through a couple of preps. And so, I mean, certainly you're taking things to an extreme level, but the principle still applies. By the end of that, it's like, I don't want to track anything ever again, right? It's just, it becomes fatiguing. And so, I don't think we're talking about refeeds in a sense where, maybe someone's like, oh, a cheat day, right? I can just have a full day of not tracking. We're not necessarily talking about that, but still just being able to have that option of a mental break where it's like, hey, I do get a little bit more food. There's certainly probably going to be a little bit more structure there. Like, we still need to be aware of how much we're consuming just because of how fat loss works on a physiological side. We don't want to basically fill up our internal storages of carbohydrates, because then we have to kind of re-go through the process of getting back into our fat. But having that little mental break and being able to use that in whatever situation, just to like have that in your back pocket and as like a nice little tool, makes that dieting process, so much, I don't want to say so much easier, but psychologically it helped a lot.
Absolutely. And so what I always want people to understand is you're going to have a social life. At some point, it's going to be, a birthday party for a friend, for your kid, for your spouse. Friday night, at least whenever I was growing up, and I've carried this tradition still into my family, Friday night is family pizza night. That's our thing. Like, we hit up Luca's, a little local place, and we get the kids their half pepperoni, half cheese pizza. Although lately Ellie's been into bacon on her pizza, so I'm like, hell
Hey.
yeah. And then Nikki and I are we're a grilled chicken, green peppers, and pineapple. So yeah, pineapple belongs on pizza. Fight me about it.
You got a little Canadian in you.
Dude, I love it. That's our go-to every time. But if I'm thinking about, man, what's the one thing per week that it's that little bit of a mental reprieve. It keeps me with a healthy relationship with food. It's having just one night a week like that. And you still go into it with some limits. So we're going to kind of get into, the strategies and everything. But first, let's go over some of the science behind strategic breaks. So the two most common ways that this is seen is going to be either doing a refeed approach or doing an untracked window, maybe just calling it an untracked meal. I call it an untracked window. So Tyler, you want to explain for everyone what a refeed is?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially it's going to be a day where you have some extra calories, it's very basic, but typically what I'll do on those days is I'll bring someone's protein down to a more minimal level, just to kind of like, all right, like, we're going to bring that down. It's going to give us some extra room that we're going to be able to put into your carbohydrates or into your fats. And then, like I said, I'll mainly put those into their carbs. And then depending on the person though, like if they just prefer a little bit more fat, we'll do that. Or what I'll do too, depending on the situation, is I'll go, okay, here's your minimal protein, and then here's calories. And how you make up those calories is up to you. If you want to have a higher fat day because you got a date night or something like that, mainly restaurants just going to be in higher fats, right? So that's how I'll go about it. Typically for most people, I'm going to start them around an extra 200 to 300 calories. in that window. But then what I'll do is I'll, at check-ins, know where they had their refeed, and then I'll see how their body responded over those next 24 to 48 hours. And depending on what that scale is doing and how the body's responding and how they're feeling, I'll either increase the food intake, like if we've seen the scale drop, or even if it's held pretty steady, maybe, hey, here's an extra 50. Like, let's see, how things respond there. If we're seeing maybe a 2, 3, 4 pound increase, well, okay, maybe was it sodium? Okay, well, then that's a different situation because that can cause the scale to increase. But, if it was a fairly normal day for them and they just ate their normal foods, but more, then we might look at lowering it just because it might be a little bit too much for them. But yeah, really starting in that 200 to 300 calorie range, lower that protein a little bit, and then bring your carbohydrates and your fats up. So I think whatever's going to be your preference in the long run is going to be ideal.
Yeah. And I do something pretty similar with my clients whenever we're implementing a refeed approach. What I find a lot of the benefit here is that, especially for someone that maybe they're a little bit more performance focused, is that there's also a big bump up in energy levels for this. And you can see, so I love having somebody, whatever their like main movement is that just gets them up, gets them excited. Like for me, it's bench press, for Tyler, it's deadlift. Like, love seeing that refeed come in like the day before. Boom, there's that added benefit. There's that little extra performance. So I love seeing the extra energy levels. I love seeing the extra performance. I really enjoy a refeed. And like Tyler said, the nice thing is it's pretty calculated. Whenever you're working with a coach, especially, they're telling you, hey, this is exactly what I want for your protein, your carbs, your fat. Sometimes there is going to be a gain, especially if it's still kind of figuring out where do you need to have your refeed at. Keep in mind, whenever your coach is first working with you, anytime that's something new, it's a learning process of how does this person's body respond to what I typically do. Maybe I need to run this plan instead, or this one or this one. So like Tyler said, if somebody's up, 3-4 pounds after a refeed, yeah, we're going to look at their sodium first. Did they go from 500 milligrams of sodium a day to 10,000, and now in the following days they're storing water like crazy? Well, that would be normal. Or like I've seen before, not very often, but sometimes someone's insoluble fiber intake will just go through the roof because to hit those extra carbs, like this particular person was going to town on some of the low carb, high fiber tortilla wraps, which it's insoluble fiber. So that's going to sit heavier in your GI tract. It's going to pull more water in. It's going to just add more bulk. So that bulk just happens to be showing up on the scale sometimes. Now, the other method that I like to do, especially with my moms and with my dads, is more of just an untracked window where I say, hey, look, 2 hours. That's incredibly reasonable. 2 hours to go, all right, I sit down, and as soon as anything with calories comes up, so let's say it's date night, you want to go get some Mexican food, you are craving some tacos and some margs and some chips and salsa. Cool. As soon as those chips arrive and you have your first one, or as soon as the margarita arrives, or the Modelo, or the Corona, whatever arrives, that's when your 2 hour window starts. Okay, so if it is 6:14 p.m., by 8:14 p.m., we're just done. We're not thinking anything about it. It's just, hey, I'm enjoying some chips and salsa. I'm enjoying a margarita. I'm enjoying a beer. My food comes, I eat. Like, for the most part, you sit down at a restaurant at 6 o'clock on a Friday night, you're in and out in an hour and a half. So if you want dessert, because you also want something sweet, cool. Again, you have a 2 hour window. Now, I always preface it with, you shouldn't try to set any world food records. You shouldn't try to take any Joey Chestnut titles. Yeah, I'm gonna date myself here. Adam Richman from Man vs. Food. You shouldn't be going to the places that he's been to and trying to get a 1,000-calorie burger down in 2 hours.
So you can get it for free.
Right. Yeah. So I like using the 2 hour window because if it's family pizza night, it's Friday night, pizza shows up, maybe I'm having a beer with my wife, maybe I'm having a bourbon. If the kids wanted to do a little bit of ice cream later, hey, a reasonable amount of ice cream is still about 250, 300 calories. It's really not a lot. And if you're being reasonable with what you're choosing for your foods, you should be fine. Now, the thing with the untracked window is that you're still tracking anything else that you would normally eat throughout that day. So again, if I'm thinking about me personally, whenever I'm in just maintenance mode, all I'm doing is eating my regular breakfast. I'm having my regular pre-workout shake. I train. I do my regular post-workout meal. I have my regular lunch. I have my regular afternoon snack. And then it's just a matter of dinner as my last meal, and I'm done. I have a 2-hour window. Whenever 7:30, 8 o'clock rolls around, it's done, it's over with, and kids go to bed, and now it's just hang out with the wife for a little bit. So it creates a little bit more attainability for long-term success. And it's not that there's one right or wrong approach whenever it comes to these two, but there are definitely certain things that are going to benefit one population more than the other. So Tyler, specifically with refeeds, who do you feel benefits the most, whether that's like a psychographic or specifically, hey, if you fit within this box, who do you feel benefits the most from refeeds?
Everyone. But no, but serious, like, I mean, in all seriousness, like that is going to be the majority of people, right? Like there have been, some people that I've worked with in the past where I'll be like, hey, like, do you feel like you could use one? Like, and, it's definitely a communicative process and bringing the client in on the decision. Now, certainly there's times where it's like, no, I want you to take this, even if they're like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, no, I'm seeing things that we need to have one. But, certainly I would say like 98% of people, whether you are a competitor, that's going to have benefits, right? Because you are looking to get to extreme levels of body fat. That's going to have a huge mental toll on you. Also with your energy, right? Like you need to be able to keep your training intensity up when you are trying to get that lean. Like that's very important. And then, like we've been talking, moms and dads, life is going to be crazy. It's going to change week to week. There's always going to be something going on. And so then just to even if it's an option, right? Even if we haven't gone, okay, I want you to for sure take 1 a week or 2 a week. It's like, oh, okay, like this is in my back pocket. Maybe this week I had nothing going on. My energy is good and I'm on a roll. So I'm just not going to take it this week. But all of a sudden, maybe that following week, there's one kid's birthday party at McDonald's. Oh, and then now we want to have a date night because it's been 2 months since a date night, right? I'm sure every parent can attest to something like that. It's like, oh, okay, all of a sudden I need to be able to pull that out of my back pocket and I have that ready to go so I can just continue to live my life. So it's really something I think that just across the board, no matter really the context, people are going to benefit from. Now, when I start a diet with someone, I try and not necessarily give one right away every single time, just because I want to dig into some body fat, right? Like I want to get the ball rolling. And for the most part, people with their higher body fat percentage at that point, hunger really isn't going to be an issue. They're still pretty damn motivated right out of the box, right? Like they're ready to go. And then I think just being able to, dig into some of that fat loss and get those results fairly quickly can be fairly motivating as well. So I'm typically looking at week 3 to 5, kind of like you had mentioned, at the beginning. That's when people maybe start to feel a little bit of that. I don't want to say burnout, but they're just like, all right, like I could use maybe a little bit of a break here. So that's when I'll start to kind of look at implementing one in. But yeah, in terms of who, I mean, not really anything specific where I would say, no, this person definitely never needs one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to always have some kind of a higher calorie approach with people where you've got 1 day a week. More so like, hey, for me, if I'm looking at the two as far as which one am I applying to someone, right?
Which one? Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm looking at refeeds, so like specifically, I've got a few parents that they compete in bodybuilding or they compete in powerlifting. I always look at that as you've got a very specific sport that you're going after. I've worked with professional wrestlers in the past where, look, the day before the show, you need that energy coming in. Like, it's a lot of physical demand that's being put on you. So I always look at like, hey, if we've got like a specific thing for what's our why, for why are we working together and it's event related like that, that will always be someone that I go, hey, the better approach here is going to be refeeds. Second best approach for that person would be the 2-hour window. So I always phrase it as like, look, let's aim for this. Let's go for the refeed approach. Here's the rough strategy. But if something comes up, and that's the great thing about the Trainerize app that we use, they can just message us and be like, hey, I forgot I got this work thing, don't really know what to do. I know it's supposed to be my refeed. Cool. Let's set the 2-hour window. Let's utilize some portion guides for it and just enjoy yourself. That will count as your higher calorie day. So what I like to do is, like you said, after about 2 weeks, we plan for the end of week 3. There's our first refeed, right? And I want to make sure that the other caveat is for that week and each week going forward, whenever we've got this refeed, we need 4 to 6 days of consistency with the dieting, because if you've had a day where your calories went way up already and then they're back to normal, or on the flip side, if you're dieting on 1,800 calories and suddenly you had a day at 1,200, like, oh crap, we probably need to get a little more calories in. So we got to see consistency. And what to include, like you said, lower the protein down a little bit. This is going to help out with digestion. There's a little bit of research that can also suggest that a day a week of less protein can actually improve muscle protein synthesis in the following days. You're going to mostly go for carbs though. I like pushing a little bit more fat. I like usually bumping up fats by about 10 grams. More so because now you've got less protein, you've got a little more fat. You're going to get better digestion of your fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. You're going to get a little potential boost up with your hormone production as well. But also from a practicality standpoint, now it opens up some different protein options. Like, I will always take chicken thighs over chicken breast out of preference. But if my macros and my fats are low, well, by default, I have to go with chicken breast. Or I would rather have a nice, flavorful, give me a good ribeye. But if my fats are low, I probably need like a super lean tri-tip or a flank steak. Or if you've got a actual like proper butcher, get a hanger steak. You'll have it one time, you'll thank me, and you will always go for it. And it's super lean, a lot of flavor. Now, on the flip side of that, there are some people that it's pretty easy to get burned out on your weighing and logging every little thing, So for those people, we might benefit more from just a 2-hour window where we're being still practical. We're saying, hey, we're aiming for balance with this meal. Like, don't just go get a loaded bacon double cheeseburger, get a burger. But let's be reasonable with it. Let's, hey, maybe we're just doing, just do a single. Maybe you're picking between bacon or cheese. You're watching the condiments that are being put on. You don't necessarily want to go loading it up with a fried egg and barbecue sauce and,
avocado, bacon. Yeah.
Right. Like, now suddenly you just really added a bunch of calories to it whenever you said you want a burger. Well, get a burger. The other thing that like Nikki and I will do is one of us will order a side salad and the other one will just order the regular fries, and then it's split both in half. That way now, hey, you're having a burger, you're having your side salad, and you're having some fries. You don't feel like you're depriving yourself, and the other person doesn't feel like, oh, man, kind of feel bad. Like, I got the fries, they got the salad. Like, sure, babe, here's a couple of my fries. Like, we don't want to do that. But this approach can also help out. Like, if you've got a big family, I guarantee you're going to need this once a week. So, some FAQs, like, won't I lose progress if I eat more? Tyler, field that one.
No, I mean, up to a certain point. Again, as we've kind of been stating, like, throughout this, like, you do need to be cautious still with your refeed or your 2-hour window, and you're not going, I would say, more than 500 calories unless you're like, a super ectomorph with massive amounts of muscle and you just burn through calories. Then maybe that's a different story.
Right. And real quick, it's 500 calories over what your normal
Yes.
daily target is. So if you're targeting 2,000, you go into that untracked meal and you've got 500 calories remaining on your normal day, 1,000-calorie meal is not going to derail you.
No, no. You're still going to be in a process where you're utilizing body fat as your main energy source. And so if anything, like we've been kind of talking about, like it's going to help, right? Because of that psychological aspect. And maybe you get a little extra output over those next 48 hours in your training, in your cardio, things like that. And if that one refeed is going to allow you to be more consistent on a week-to-week basis over the long run, that's going to equal more fat loss.
Absolutely. And, look, if you feel like you overdid it during your untracked window or during your refeed, look, it's normal to occasionally overeat. Like I just got to say, it's normal to occasionally overdo it. You mean to tell me that in a year, someone's going to never overdo one single meal? It's normal. And that also goes with how do we manage any potential guilt? Frame it as a part of the plan and really be thinking about bigger picture. I always like to run the math. So I'm going to run the exact math here, right? So let's say we've got 365 days out of the year. And let's say that the average person consumes food 4 times per day. Okay, so that's 1,460 meals. Now, let's say that it's 1 day per month of some type of holiday. Let's just say on average, right? Like we got Valentine's Day in February, we've got St. Patrick's Day in March. Like let's say on average 1 day per month where there's some type of holiday meal. That's 12 meals per month or 12 meals per year. Now let's back out. If you've got 2 kids and a spouse plus your own birthday, right? There's 4 more. You've probably got an anniversary somewhere. Maybe you want to enjoy your parents' birthday. Maybe you want to enjoy your own anniversary. Like, okay, if you're married, you probably have 2 parents' anniversaries, yours and theirs. Your parents and your spouse's parents. You've got 4 additional more birthdays there. You probably have a best friend. I mean, I hope everyone has a best friend that they get together with. Be kind of sad if we don't. So let's say you've got 1 more. So this takes us all the way down to around 1,430 meals. So 1,460 minus 1,430, you're talking about 30 meals out of the entire year. So if we take that 1,430 divide by 1,460, that would mean you're adherent 97.94% of the time.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
That is going above and beyond.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say is like, typically the general rule of thumb is like 80%, right? Like if we go, you always hear it, 80-20, right? If you can be consistent 80% of the time, you are going to have amazing results, right? Like that. And so, yeah, when you break it down like that, that's above and beyond, like you said.
Yep. That's completely nailing it. Round up to 98%. If you just enjoy those meals, and you may be somebody that you go, you know what, I'm single, I'm not really celebrating Valentine's Day, or hey, St. Patty's Day, it's kind of a drinking holiday. I'm not a huge drinker. It's just a Tuesday or a Wednesday or whatever day it falls on the week for me. Cool. Then that meal can go to another day. Like maybe you do all day for Christmas, like what my family does. Fine. It still is just part of, look, this is the bigger picture and why we don't have to sweat those small meals, because it's going to lead to that burnout. It's going to feel like you're depriving yourself. You're going to become the hermit that nobody ever sees, or they see you once a year. Like that's a big factor, is your social life as well. So, look, 7 days of strict dieting, yeah, for the first week or 2, you should be able to do it. But to think that you're going to go into a 16 or a 20-week long fat loss phase, it's unsustainable. It's not necessary for progress. These strategic refeeds or an untracked window, it gives you that flexibility. It gives you that sustainability. Like 10 years ago, even like going back to the bodybuilding circles, like 10 years ago, refeeds weren't a thing. It was, you had your cheat day, your cheat meal. That was it. And guess what? People still achieved amazing physiques, elite level physiques doing that. And even average Joes, your normal insurance salesman with a wife and kids still did that and saw results. So I'm gonna put an actionable challenge out for people. I want you to schedule, if you're in a fat loss phase and you're hearing this, I want you to schedule one refeed day. Like Tyler said, bring your calories up like 300 calories for the day. Drop your protein down, give yourself 10 extra grams of fat so that the rest of these calories are all coming from carbs. So give yourself a refeed, or give yourself the permission of a 2-hour untracked window. Write down how you're feeling before that day starts, and the next day, write down how you feel. Balance is the goal, not perfection, because you might do that untracked window and go, man, I was feeling some diet burnout, and now I feel good. It put a little gas in my tank. You might do that refeed, and the next day you wake up and like, I don't really feel different, but then you put 15 pounds on your squat because you have more fuel in your tank.
Yeah.
So, I would love to hear, we've got this now on Spotify. We've got this up on YouTube. Do this and leave us a comment. Tell us honestly how you feel, good, bad. Tell us. I want to hear, what was your experience? And if you do this and you go, man, I think I did okay with it, but I'm still a little lost on the strategy, then book your free metabolic assessment call. Head on over to fitbodinstitute.com, and right there, you can choose me, you can choose Tyler. We'll get on this free 30-minute metabolic assessment with you, figure out what's your history, what's your goal, what's the best approach for you to reach it, and make sure that we're still getting in that balance.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Tyler, let's go with this. I want to do a little fun game here.
Okay.
So if you had to choose right now between either bench pressing twice your body weight or squatting 3 times your body weight, which one would you want to do right now?
And I don't have to worry about injuries?
Nope, no injury, and you're going to do
it. Shoot. Well, in that case, I would probably go benching 2 times my weight.
Hell yeah.
If I gotta pay attention to injuries, we're gonna go with benching then, because I don't know if my hips and low back would love the 3 times squat.
Those hips don't lie?
No, they definitely don't lie. How about you?
Oh, I mean, if I did 2,
for you.
So for me, 2 times body weight on bench, like not trying to be anyway, but I already do that.
Yeah.
So for me, the idea of having that meniscus back in my knee and actually hitting 3 times body weight squat, like that'd be 600 pounds. Yeah, absolutely. Give me that. Yeah. Give me that all day long.
That would be fine.
What about this? If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Flying.
And why? Flying. Okay.
You could fly, man. How cool would that be? Like, and if it's like, and if we're talking about like Superman speed, I mean, I would be on a beach in Croatia every single day.
Croatia, interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, we were there a few years ago, and I absolutely loved it there. An amazing place to be. So if you ever get a chance, go check out Croatia.
Okay, so mine's going to be kind of similar, but I'm going to choose teleportation because I do not like flying. Like I don't enjoy airplane rides. The slightest bit of turbulence, and I'm white knuckling the handle. I do not like. Yeah. So for me, it'd be teleportation. If I could just instantly teleport, pretty similar, except I'd be on Cat Island in the Bahamas, which is not overran with cats, despite the name. So little surprise, but beautiful pink sand beaches. The people there are just so nice, so friendly. Everyone looks out for everyone, and really tiny island that you gotta take a little puddle hopper basically to get to it. So I was especially nervous, but you do things that kind of scares you, and that's how you grow as a person. So
those small planes, man.
Well, this one was pretty bad. It was 2 rows on one side, for the seats, and then it was one row on the other side.
Yep.
So this was a tiny little fuselage. Yep. And on the way back, whenever we left, the overhead storage bin like flopped down and popped me in the side of the head. So I was like, ow, like I stood up and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't do the overhead storage. So like I'm looking and I close it. And then as soon as I sit back down and it hit turbulence again, it like falls down, but I caught it this time. And I realized the latch is just broken. So I'm literally holding this thing the entire, I mean, it was only like a 15-minute flight, but I'm like, yes, the entire time. And like, have you ever tried to hold your arm over your head for longer than a minute? Like that sucks.
It's tiring. Yeah. And then you're hoping it's only the latch that's broken.
Right. Like, I hope the landing gear is good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all very much for listening to another episode. Anyone wants to find us, you can go to fitbodinstitute.com. You can head over to Instagram. I am at Pirtle Coaching. Tyler is at Tyler_Wiebe. Send us a DM. Let us know any topics that you would like to hear us talk about. And again, if you're looking for any help on your journey, Tyler, myself combined, we have 30 years of experience in doing this. We'll make sure you're taken care of the right way.